Hi, my name is Double J, and today we're going to talk a little bit about building resources for change. And the truth is, it's a big topic that covers many areas. Finding the right resources for your change project is crucial for success. One thing I know is that people can be passionate and really engaged with purpose. It's a journey. People are the engine. They are the engine of the machine of the organization. And they are the ones that come along with you on the journey of change. So finding the right people to help you lead the charge and go on the journey is absolutely one of the most important things. And it's natural. People ask me all the time, you're going to have people that are resistors sitting in the middle and just absolutely your leaders, your champions, your ambassadors of change. You're going to have a mix. What I want to share with you today is just a little bit of information about some of the people, the core people, the key players that you're going to need in order to have on your team in order to lead successful change. But first, I wanted to share a little bit about a study that was done by ProSci in 2019 that actually measured some of the crucial factors within change. And one of the things that it found was that there's a relationship between dedicated resources and change management effectiveness. It was abundantly clear in the results of this study that when teams, organizations use a dedicated change management resource, there is a high positive correlation with the effectiveness to long-term sustained change. So that's good news because it means that whether you're using a hired or consulting change management resource or whether you're picking someone from the team to become that change management resource, having someone lead and drive the change is going to lead to that long-term needed result of sustained change. Another interesting and important measure to keep in mind as we sort of go through this conversation is about the sufficiency of the resources that we provide for change. And in most cases, and I'm going back to this sort of same study that ProSci did in 2019, it doesn't even matter what organization or industry we're talking about. And regardless of the phase of the project, 56% of change and project managers that were measured in this study reported that they had insufficient resources available to manage change. So this means there's opportunity. We can make changes within change. So let's get into it. Clients often ask me two key questions about determining resources for change. Who are the key players that I need to have on my team? Like, who are the most crucial? And how do you make decisions on change management resources? So today, I'm just going to give you a very high-level overview of the key factors that influence the decision-making on change resourcing. There are really 10 key factors that help us to determine our decisions. And these are: 1, the nature of the change. So what type of change decision are we making? 2 is the scope. 3 is the number of impacted groups or teams. 4 is the organizational capacity. 5 is the geographical distribution. 6, the phase of the project. How far along are we in the project? 7, the guidelines. 8, strategic weight or importance. And truthfully, sometimes that can be higher or lower depending on organizational and business objectives. 9, the level of experience with change. And then 10, constraints. And constraints can include a variety of different things, but most often are things like budget, skill set, availability, or maturity. So each of these can operate on their own, or they can work in tandem. You can have many of them working within this at the same time. Or you can also have different business units in one organization impacted by one or the other. And so we're going to circle back on them in more detail at another time, but I just wanted to give you an idea of what to pay attention to or to look out for. Now, the key players of change, there are 3 core people, and those are leadership, project manager, and change manager. And so while these are the key players, they're not the only ones. There are other groups that actually lead and drive to make change successful across an organization. But these 3 people are the ones that are the drivers and the decision makers. And so within leadership, I'm just going to share a little bit about the leadership infrastructure. There's often a sponsor that is elected, and they are called the change sponsor, and they're instrumental in the advocacy, drive, and momentum of the project. And so I'm just going to give you an example. I recently had a project with a sponsor who could not be accountable, was unable to make decisions, and they were unable to prioritize the project, and the project began to fall flat. And so we ultimately had to make a recommendation to the organization and the leadership team to change the sponsor and pick a new leader. So we're going to talk a little bit more in another video about the sponsor and the role of the sponsor, but I'm just going to go over this trifecta and clarify the roles of the 3 different people in the trifecta in a more simplistic way so you can see clearly the difference between what everybody does. So with the leadership, they're really the visionaries of change. They're the voice of change across the organization. The project manager is really focused on timelines, scope, and budget. And the change manager is all about the people side of change. So I just want to make one little note here. Change managers and project managers are not a 2-for-1. This is not a BOGO. So oftentimes I see in organizations that when we're trying to save time and money, we do that by squeezing one person into 2 roles. I want everybody to just pause for a moment and sit back and look at the scale of what you're trying to achieve and ask yourself, is this the smart decision? And by smart, I mean capital S, capital M, capital A, capital R, capital T. If you're not familiar with that acronym, we'll circle back on that in another video. Until next time, keep living the change.